Hello and welcome back to the F1 22 My Team Career Mode for round 3, the Australian Grand Prix. And if you've missed any of the previous rounds so far, click the card annotation in the top right hand corner of your screens to find the playlist if you've missed episodes 1 and 2. But in between episode 2 and episode 3, this is what we did. So we of course sorted out the activity to try and maximize the amount of resource points and also money that the team can get. Currently we are situated just ahead of Aston Martin and Williams in terms of performance, so it's time to get the upgrades back on the car. So working on the aerodynamics, working on the chassis as well to try and further improve the car. We also went for some brand spanking new team overalls just to give that look, you know, get a better look for the team. And we did the supercar event as well coming into this weekend and getting some more acclaim and money. But something really strange happened in the qualifying session. Daniel Ricciardo had a crash and goes out of the session. So does Lance Stroll, and it looks like Pierre Gasly also gets caught up in all of that. Daniel Ricciardo and Daniel Ricciardo and Lance Stroll not setting lap time. So this is a great opportunity for us to try and get into Q2 for the first time this season. Coming across the line for our first lap is a 120.06, which actually is quite a bit off the pace of the Williams guys at the moment. Round the final corner for our second lap, and as you can see, consistency is great at the moment. We're only about 0.04 of a second slower than our previous best lap time, but we do need to try and improve on that. And unfortunately, we damaged the underbody on that previous lap, and if we look at the time, we're only just gonna have enough time to get out before the session ends. But I still don't think we're gonna have enough time to cross the line before the session runs out. And as we come through the last couple of corners now, we are just not close enough, and that unfortunately is gonna be the end of our qualifying session. Way down the field in 20th position, a very disappointing qualifying for us. Oscar Piastri did a good showing from him, put a 19.0 in 1 second quicker than we did. Still couldn't get through into Q2, but a good showing from him. So whilst we were starting at the back, we found it a great opportunity to now take a lot of new engine components, because, you know, you might as well take it, might as well not work so much on the durability, work on the performance of the car instead, take these extra penalties when we're starting at the back of the grid and try and work our way forwards. And, you know, we've got these in the bank now. So thankfully we shouldn't have any engine problems, especially after what happened to Oscar last time out at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. But let's get into the race now for the Australian Grand Prix here at the Melbourne Albert Park circuit. We're going to be starting right at the back of the grid for today's race and be looking to work our way back through the field like we have done so many times so far this season. Charles Leclerc leads the way in the Drivers' Championship, 50 points at the moment after an insane battle last time out with Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez, and we'll be looking for more of the same here today. But Charles Leclerc actually does have a 5-place grid drop, so he's going to be starting in P6 for today's race. Looking at the race strategy, we're actually going to go again for the hards to softs. As you can see, the time difference is about 1 second, less than that. So it's a no-brainer to go for this alternate strat, because again, if a safety car does come out, then of course it's going to give us a great opportunity to try and get us back in the mix. Once again, parking almost perfectly in our grid slot. The lights are coming on, the engines are revving, and we are going racing for the Australian Grand Prix. It's round 3 of the My Team Career Mode. It's an awful start from us off the line. We're just going to take it nice and cautiously down into turn 1, having a little look on Lance Stroll, but he just completely blocks us. Last time out in Saudi Arabia, he just pushed us into the wall. It looks like he wants to do more of the same, despite Lance Stroll being one of my favourite drivers. He does not care about that, and he just wants to cut across me at every single opportunity. So again, we're just taking it cautiously as we go through turn 3, now into turn 4, losing the back end just a little bit. These hard tyres taking a lot longer to fire up compared to the others. So we're watching on board from Sebastian Vettel, who had the most insane start I think I've ever seen on this game. Starting P15 on the grid, goes down into turn 1, moves himself up into about P12, I believe this is. So already gained 3 positions just off the launch itself. Not too sure what he was doing on the exit of turn 2. Was a bit ropey through there, but absolutely sends it up the inside of Kevin Magnussen in the house to go wheel to wheel through turn 3, through turn 4, and leading up into turn 5. But Sebastian Vettel with a better traction on the inside on those softer tyres fantastic start and up into P11 as we're now watching a little battle unfold ahead of us. Lance Stroll and Nicholas Latifi sort of tripping over each other, so we're going to go on the attack of Lance Stroll. He gives us enough room this time around. We go right around the outside of the penultimate corner. This will give us the inside line into the final corner. Now trying to get on the traction, on the power, using our ERS all the way, draining the battery, and that is going to help us make a move on Lance Stroll and move ourselves up into P21 as he just holds it a little bit around the outside, but we close the door through turn 2, and there we go, moving up into 21st position, now going on the attack of Nicholas Latifi, as into the pits comes Pierre Gasly and Sebastian Vettel. Only 4 laps into this race, so after an amazing start for Sebastian Vettel, it looks like he's tripped over somebody going through turn 1. Here we go, watching an onboard now with Seb, and yeah, he just has a little bit of a collision there with the Haas driver of Mick Schumacher, and that's unfortunately damaged his front wing, so he's definitely going to be coming into the pit lane. Now let's see what happened to Gasly. Is it more of the same around the outside? Into turn 1, not quite the same situation, but again turning in a little bit too early and knocking the side pod of Zhou Guanyu, and unfortunately for them, they're going to be dropping down a position. We're watching now on board with Lewis Hamilton attacking Sergio Perez. The battle for the podium. Perez locks up just like he did in Saudi Arabia. How many times is Perez going to lock up in this career mode and lose positions? That's allowed Lewis Hamilton now to get himself onto the podium as the yellow flag is out. We cut back to our race. Fernando Alonso, we saw him dropping through the field in the timing screen. Sebastian Vettel also out of the race. Everything is going on at once at the moment. Alonso not too sure why he is going slowly as we cut to the Alpine driver right now, as it looks like he's going to be making his way into the pit lane. But Fernando Alonso, very disappointing for him. He was running very high in the field in the points as he comes into the pits, and look at the rear left tyre. Definitely looks like he's got a puncture in this race. You can see that tyre just bouncing around just a little bit more than the others, so very unfortunate from Fernando Alonso, and I can tell you that nothing really happened, in all fairness. He just went through the high-speed chicane, and unfortunately the tyre just burst on him, so it was a very strange situation there for Fernando Alonso. Whether there was debris or what, I'm not too sure. But Sebastian Vettel, unfortunately, out of the race. I thought maybe there Pierre Gasly was going to take him out, but no, just looks like an engine failure, unfortunately, for the Aston Martin driver. And thankfully for us, because we've taken new engine components, that should not happen to us in this race. We're watching now on board with Sergio Perez go on the attack of Lewis Hamilton. At the same time, in the bottom left-hand corner of your screens, I'm going to be overtaken by Lance Stroll. We were just draining our battery so much trying to defend from him. There was no point, so we're going to tuck up behind him and get the slipstream and the DRS and try and work our way back through the field. But Perez and Lewis Hamilton still going wheel to wheel as they go through the final corner, heading on to the start-finish straight. Lewis Hamilton has the lead over the Red Bull driver at the moment, cutting on board now with Charles Leclerc. He'll be trying to pick up the pieces if anything goes wrong between these two. Sergio Perez on the inside kind of got pincered into turn 1. Leclerc looked like making a move, couldn't quite make it stick, but now he's going the long way round down into towards turn 3. Can he make it stick? Slight contact between the two of them. We'll get the inside line now in towards turn 4. Still wheel to wheel between these two. Valtteri Bottas watching behind, licking his lips, waiting for that opportunity to maybe jump both of these drivers and move up into P4, which would be an amazing result for the Alfa Romeo. Charles Leclerc going around the outside. Don't know where Sebastian Vettel came from. He's out of the race, but Charles Leclerc going right around the outside into the new section of the Australian Grand Prix. We get the inside line now in towards the chicane. Sergio Perez is going to get hung out to dry, surely, and he can't make it stick the long way round. But Valtteri Bottas having a look, forced off the road into the gravel. And now Bottas is going to be losing so many positions as he slowly gets himself back onto the track. And now he's going to rejoin side by side with his teammate of Zhou Guanyu. Bottas fighting for 4th position, now finds himself out of the points right now. He's going to go round the outside of his teammate Zhou Guanyu in towards the penultimate corner now. And he just about nicks ahead there of Zhou Guanyu, but it looks like he's going to be coming into the pit lane, so possibly damage from that incursion between himself and Sergio Perez. Not too sure if there was contact there between the two of them, but this is great news for me because it allows me another free overtaking opportunity. I've just got overtaken by Lance Stroll, but now we're going to move ourselves back up into P18 for the time being in this race. But let's have a look at a replay of what happened on board with Valtteri Bottas. So he has a little look up the inside of the chicane, tries to find it around the outside, just sort of runs out of room. Sergio Perez didn't actually make contact with him or anything like that, but just Valtteri Bottas just run it a little bit too deep. So watching Mick Schumacher and Kevin Magnussen battle now. And just like Valtteri Bottas, Mick Schumacher is off the circuit into the gravel. Looks like maybe he's beached it here, unfortunately for him, as we cut on board now with Max Verstappen attacking Carlos Sainz. We can see in the bottom left-hand corner, we're going to overtake Mick Schumacher now, but Max Verstappen goes up the inside of Carlos Sainz as Sainz locks up into turn 3. Max Verstappen takes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix, and we're watching it on board with Kevin Magnussen. Was there contact? No, just a lock-up once again from Mick Schumacher. How many times have we seen that? We haven't seen anyone get it that wrong, though, putting themselves into the gravel, as now we watch on board with Max Verstappen, who makes his first and only pit stop of the race. Starting on the medium tyres, he's going to go onto the hards, which should take him all the way to the end of this race. So it's all up to Carlos Sainz to have the most insane overcut we have ever seen to try and regain the lead of this race. Max Verstappen going to be coming out in a little bit of free air, in all fairness. He's just behind George Russell there, as we're on board with myself once again. And as it is the pit stop phase, and we're of course doing the alternative strategy, we should be making our way through the field quite a bit, as we just about come out ahead of Kevin Magnussen there. But he's going to be on quicker tyres than us at this stage of the race, so it shouldn't be too long before Kevin Magnussen re-overtakes us, as Carlos Sainz coming into the pit lane now. It has to be a super clean, super quick stop here from the Ferrari team if he wants any chance of jumping Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez, Esteban Ocon and George Russell should all be filing into the pit lane on this lap. But where will Max Verstappen rejoin? Will he take the lead back from Carlos Sainz? He's out of the pit lane now. Max Verstappen a little bit too far behind, but will have so much more temperature in those harder tyres to maybe go on the attack of Carlos Sainz down in towards turn 3. But the straight line speed from the Ferrari keeps Sainz ahead, and he regains the lead of the Grand Prix as Latifi now coming into the pits. So does Leclerc again for the second time this race coming into the pits. So surely something has happened there to Charles Leclerc. Here we go, watching a replay now of what has happened to the Ferrari driver exiting the pit lane, heading down in towards turn 1 on the inside, and just a little bit of contact there with Yuki Tsunoda, and that has cost him front wing damage and also another pit stop, dropping him down to 14th in this race. Max Verstappen now on the attack of Carlos Sainz once again in towards this heavy braking zone where we got him earlier on. We're going to get overtaken by Kevin Magnussen in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. So much quicker on those fresher, harder tyres. But Max Verstappen retakes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. A very smooth overtake around the outside, and we have been overtaken by Kevin Magnussen there. Now watching it on board with Lance Stroll replay as he just makes a collision with our teammate of Oscar Piastri as he came into the pits, or exited the pit lane there. So unfortunately for Lance Stroll, that's damage, and that has put him right to the back of the field, and it is a day to forget for the Aston Martin team. Carlos Sainz will try and retake the lead now from Max Verstappen, doing what Verstappen did to him earlier, round the outside at that corner. And Carlos Sainz retakes the lead of the Australian Grand Prix. Another incredible battle for the race win we are seeing once again in the My Team career modes. We cut ahead now to lap 21. Our tyres are not looking good at all at this stage of the race. Coming into the pit lane, a very tight pit entry this season, so you have to be really careful not to put it into the barrier on either the right or the left of the walls there. But now coming into the pits, hopefully we're going to get a clean pit stop this time around. Remember, we had a dodgy rear left last time out at Saudi Arabia, and it was a quick pit stop. A 2.3 second stop, which is very happy with. But where will this put us in terms of the other drivers? Looks like we're going to be just ahead of our teammate, but we got a little bit too deep there into turn 1. Piastri overtakes us, and that is not what we wanted. Slight contact as well with our teammate, which is definitely not what we want. But unfortunately now we're going to be held up just a little bit by Oscar Piastri, which of course we don't want because we're on these softer tyres. We want to try and attack the likes of Valtteri Bottas, Fernando Alonso, Nicholas Latifi. That gaggle of cars that is just ahead of us out on track at the moment, but Piastri doing a good job of just holding us up for the time being. But now we're going to use the ERS, use the extra traction we have from these soft tyres. Piastri though, not giving up this position easy. I really wish that there was some sort of team orders mechanic that we did have in the My Team career mode, because whilst being on different strategies, it just makes sense for Piastri just to let us through there and not fight us. We have the opportunity maybe to try and attack Bottas later on in the race. We watch a replay of what happened to Piastri as he came through turn 1 when we exited the pits. It's a little bit of contact. I don't think there was front wing damage there. I think it was just wheel to wheel, front left to rear right, and Piastri will be thankful of that he doesn't have to come into the pit lane. Someone who is into the pit lane though, again, Charles Leclerc, the weirdest strategy I think I've ever seen Ferrari do, and Valtteri Bottas locks up once again going into turn 1, and that's a very easy overtake for ourselves on the Alfa Romeo driver. Fernando Alonso now battling with Nicholas Latifi as they go through that tight hairpin at the end of the section. A new version of the track layout there as we're now going on the attack of Nicholas Latifi right on the back of him into the penultimate corner. Now going to try and maximize our traction out of this corner to try and attack him in towards turn 1 in the slipstream, using DRS, using ERS, pulling out over to the right hand side now on the inside into turn 1, braking a little bit later than the Williams driver, and that is all that is needed to move ourselves up into P16. Now going on the attack of Fernando Alonso in this race on lap 28.
It looks like we might have an issue. Hang in there, we're attempting to...
As unfortunately, Mark has just told us that we have got an issue with the engine. 28 laps out of 29. Surely we can make it to the end of this race as we go on the attack of Fernando Alonso right now. Can we overtake him with 2 laps to go, manage the engine and make it to the end? In towards the right hander now, very close to Fernando Alonso on exit.
It looks critical. Find somewhere to retire as soon as possible. We can't risk you carrying on with this.
No, the engine has gone 28 laps out of 29. We literally have 1 lap left to do. The leaders are on the final lap. It's a gearbox failure. After taking a new engine for this weekend, it wasn't enough. And unfortunately, that is going to be our first retirement of the season. Luckily for us, we weren't fighting for points. Carlos Sainz, though, takes his first ever race win in Formula 1. Max Verstappen finishes in second, and Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes makes it onto the podium for the first time this season. Things we love to see. But there we go. Carlos Sainz going to be very happy with his first race win of the season. Sergio Perez finishes in 4th place with George Russell 5th, Esteban Ocon on 6th. Kevin Magnussen finishes in 7th. Lando Norris gets into the points. So does Yuki Tsunoda and Daniel Ricciardo, I believe, all for the first time this season. Unfortunately for us, we finished down in P21. We are classified, but we are 2 laps down with Oscar Piastri, our teammate, finishing in 18th for the race. So not too bad from him. In the Drivers' Championship now, this does mean that we are dropping down to 17th with the likes of Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki Tsunoda and Lando Norris scoring points for the first time this season. And I think also maybe Esteban Ocon as well, all jumping us. So down in 17th place at the moment. But in terms of the Constructors' Championship, we have been jumped by McLaren, but we are still ahead of Aston Martin and Williams. And there's still a long way left to go for this season. But if you have enjoyed the episode, don't forget to smash a like on it. I will see you next time. Make sure you subscribe for more content just like this. But until then, it's goodbye from me.